Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have a nice episode filled with a bunch of college basketball stuff, as well as an interesting segment. We're actually going to be doing an NFL mock draft. Even though the combine hasn't happened yet, we still think it's good to give you guys some information, just with as much information as we have right now. Not a lot going on in the world of sports other than college basketball, so we thought we'd just throw in that segment. So Marco, can you get us right into it with our college basketball recap from last week?
Yep, so to start it out, number 1 Alabama loses at number 10 Tennessee. We both expected this to be a blowout for Bama, but Tennessee gets it done. Not one player really stood out for Tennessee, but just a good team effort with lots of good defense, and they're able to pull off the upset against the number 1 team in the country and maybe improve their seeding in March Madness to maybe a two seed.
Yeah, definitely a shocking one there. I, for one, thought Alabama was going to win. I mean, number 1 team in the country. This loss actually did end up dropping them. Houston jumped them in the AP poll up to the number 1 slot, so definitely a costly loss for Bama. Still see them being a 1 seed very easily in the tournament. Next up, we have number 16 Xavier losing a close one at number 11 Marquette, and I think this is a pretty good game. Marquette is looking more and more like a 3 seed every single day. So they could definitely be a dangerous team in the tournament with the way they're playing right now. Marco?
Yeah, we're also going to talk about another win that they had later. So I think this could even be a 2 seed. And this team is definitely looking dangerous. They play lots of good defense. Stevie Mitchell had a good game here. He dropped 17 points. Yeah, just a very tight game in the Big East, and Marquette comes out on top. I expected that this would be a close game, but the home court advantage works for Marquette, and they're able to get a huge win and improve their seeding.
Yep, next up, Maryland unranked stuns number 3 Purdue. Another loss for Purdue. It actually will drop them to number 5 in the AP, which is definitely big. That puts them out of the 1 spot as of yet. Out of being a 1 seed in the tournament, which is absolutely huge. So Purdue's, definitely gonna need to step it up. I still think they have the ability, with Zach Edey at big to be able to jump back into that 1 slot, but definitely can't take many more losses if they're going to want to be a 1 seed. Marco?
I mean, yeah, Zach Edey is a very good player, but besides him, I just don't think this team is really that good. I think this is a team maybe even not making it out of the first weekend of March. Maryland here beats them very, very easily. The second half, Maryland won 43-26 after Purdue was winning at halftime. Jameer Young is a beast, and you could see Maryland being a team that could shock a higher seed team. Maybe Maryland's like a 7 seed and they beat a 2 seed in the second round. So Maryland definitely looking dangerous, and Purdue looking less and less dangerous every week.
Yeah, definitely not where you want to be plateauing for Purdue, so they definitely got to turn it around. And then another game from Tennessee. They did end up losing at Kansas. Kansas is a very good team, currently ranked number 3 in the country. They have the most quad 1 wins by far. So they're definitely a super good team. Tennessee, coming off that win against Bama, I thought maybe they were going to get another huge win, but they couldn't do it. They fall to number 11 in the rankings. I still think, though, they should be able to edge out a pretty high seed, but definitely 7 losses is not where Tennessee thought they would be at this point in the season, knowing that they had such a good start. Marco?
Yeah, actually it was Kentucky, not Kansas.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, Kentucky, not a great team, but they've definitely been playing better basketball here. Oscar Tshiebwe, 10 for 11 from the free throw line, dropped 16 points. Actually, a pretty bad game besides the free throw shooting. But Kentucky playing lots of good basketball right here. But one thing that worries me about Tennessee is their offense. Their offense has really just not been that good, dropping 54 points here. Even in the win against Alabama, only 68 points. So they're going to need someone to score offensively. And Santiago Vescovi is just not a number one scorer for an elite team. So they're going to need to find someone if they really want to make a deep run in the tournament. And Kentucky, I think they're like a 8 or a 9 seed right now, but they're definitely looking good and could be a very talented team that 1 seeds do not want to play against in the second round.
Yeah, definitely a solid team there. Next up, we have number 19 Iowa State losing at number 12 Kansas State. This game was close for a little bit, and it was actually I thought it was a good game. Kansas State was able to get it done here. They got a couple good wins this week. But yeah, I mean, this was a close game throughout. 61-55 final score. Kansas State's a very good team, though. They did fall to 14 in this week's rankings, but they also picked up a win over number 9 Baylor, which was huge. They actually dominated for a lot of that game. Or for a lot of the second half in that game. So this Kansas State team is very good, and I think they could definitely make some noise. Marco?
Yeah, a huge win for Kansas State as they looked like they were plummeting heading into March. But here, Marquise Noel has a huge game, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and carries Kansas State to the victory at home against Iowa State.
Yeah, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so next up, number 9 Baylor. They get absolutely blown out against Kansas. Last week, I thought that Baylor looked like maybe even a natty contender in my opinion. I had them, like if the bracket released last week, I would have them going to the Final Four at least. But here, not the best week. Adam Flagler did play phenomenal, but they just not good defense for this team. Keontae George was back. This was his first game off injury, and he played very well. But outside of Flagler and George, they're going to need to find some sort of offense outside of those two and LJ Cryer. So outside of their 3 guards, they had a combined 14 points. So outside of 3 players, you only get 14 points. You need more depth heading into March, and Baylor's really going to need to find someone to score outside of those 3.
Yeah, for sure. Baylor's a team I really like to watch. Keontae George is a phenomenal player, and they're just they're an entertaining team to watch. But like you said, you can't be relying on just like 1 or 2 guys. You need to have role players that can step up, have a big game when you need them to. So this Baylor team has the pieces. They're just gonna need to get some extra help from those less flashy guys. And then next up, another loss from I already talked about this a little, but Kansas State got it done versus Baylor. Good one for Kansas State. Baylor definitely needs to turn around. And then after that, we have number 11 Tennessee losing at number 25 Texas A&M. Really tough loss for Tennessee here. I mean, they just truly had a rough week. What they have. It was only 2 losses, but both of them, I mean, they had that one win versus Alabama, but then both their losses come back to back, which is rough, getting closer to March. Definitely going to need a big turnaround here for Tennessee. Marco?
Yeah, by the way, in that Baylor loss to Kansas State, Adam Flagler goes 1 for 13 for 4 points. So when you have like your guard playing like that, this team just doesn't have enough depth to back that up. So they're going to need more out of him. And obviously Tennessee, another tough loss. I still think they're probably in the 3 to 4 seed range, but after beating Bama, 2 really tough losses.
Yep. And then our final game that we will be recapping for the week, number 10 Marquette wins at number 19 Creighton. Like we talked about earlier, this Marquette team, super solid. Like Marco said, incredibly good defensive team. This is a Creighton team that they have beaten earlier in the season. They got it done once again. This team has a lot of pieces. They put up a lot of points, but they can also hold teams when they need to. So definitely a team that can get it done in many ways, looking dangerous once again. Marco, can you take us into our mock draft segment?
Yep. So the whole first round, we have some mock trades that we made, but this is the full first round. So number 1 overall, We have the Bears taking Will Anderson Jr., Alabama, edge rusher. I think that Bears, they just need a playmaker on defense. Justin Fields, I think get help for Justin Fields in free agency, get some offensive linemen, maybe a receiver. But with the number one overall pick, unless they're going to trade back, which they might, but I don't think they will. So if you're not going to trade back, I think you just need a star on defense, and Will Anderson can definitely provide that.
For sure. And then at number 2, we have Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback, going to the Houston Texans. This is one I'm pretty confident about. I don't see them taking anyone else. It's just not optimal to have Davis Mills as your quarterback for the Texans. But they do have some guys on that offense. They have Dameon Pierce, a super talented rookie running back, had a breakout season. And they also have Brandon Cooks, who's a big play receiver. I think Bryce Young could make some stuff happen for that team. I don't think it's going to be this year for the Texans, or I don't think it'll be this coming year for the Texans, but definitely with Bryce Young, you could definitely see them picking up like 7 or 8 wins, which would just be a huge improvement. And then once they get those defensive pieces, they could be like, they have the pieces for a good rebuild. Marco?
Yeah, that pick is a virtual lock. At number 3, the Cardinals, they're very likely to trade back. They just got a new coach. I think they're entering a rebuilding state by them taking Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Easily the most talented player on the board right here. He's a physical specimen. He's a beast. And again, they just sort of need a defensive playmaker, and he's the best defensive player on the board right now. So I think they'll take him and sort of secure the inside. They're one of the worst run defenses in the NFL this past year, and that'll definitely change with him.
Yeah, I mean, and losing a playmaker like J.J. Watt was to retirement. That is huge, and that'll be good to fill that role. Next up, we have the Colts taking C.J. Stroud at number 4. C.J. Stroud, hyper-accurate quarterback. I think he'll definitely be able to make some noise in the NFL. Marco?
Yeah, that's another virtual lock. At number 5, the Seahawks. They got this from the Russell Wilson trade. We have them taking Miles Murphy, Clemson edge rusher. They sort of need an edge rusher. They did not have really an edge rusher at all this past year. Part of the reason why 49ers were able to beat them with a third-string QB, because he was not under any pressure. Miles Murphy, he's the definition of an athlete. He's like 6'6", 250, pretty fast. He's a very good edge rusher, and I think they'll use him pretty well.
Yep, and then number 6, we actually have the Lions taking a corner, Devin Witherspoon, the Illinois cornerback. I really don't like this. It could happen, but I just don't like us taking 2 cornerbacks in the top 10 in the past 3 years. I think we have more pressing needs. And although he's the best defensive player on the board, I just don't think that's really worth it. Whether we trade the pick or do something else with it, I think we should switch it up. And then at number 7, we have the Raiders taking Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback. I mean, I always thought he was solid. I never thought he was amazing, but I think the Raiders could use him. He definitely fits into their style of offense, filling in that role of Derek Carr after he gets traded. Marco?
Yeah, by the way, for that Lions pick, they probably will trade it because it's sort of a tough situation where they don't really need an offensive player, but there aren't that many great like linebackers or interior defensive linemen. We actually have them taking an interior defensive lineman later, but sort of tough situation. So I think they're pretty likely to trade back for a second rounder. And Will Levis, I don't think he'll be good, but I think the Raiders are going to take the risk with Derek Carr leaving. Number 8, Falcons. We have them taking Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech edge. He can sort of cover, but he's not that good of a cover linebacker. Definitely more of an edge rusher. He's definitely a physical specimen. He wasn't really that good in college. Obviously playing the Big 12 as a defensive player in the Big 12 just did not have that much defense. So Texas Tech also did not have that good a defense either, but he is a very good athlete, and maybe I think the Falcons think that they can do something with him. So I think they're going to take him.
Yeah, definitely. Some draft picks are based on potential. you got to take a chance every once in a while. Number 9, we have the Panthers taking Anthony Richardson, Florida quarterback. This is a talented guy. He might be able to make some noise in the league. I really don't know. I don't love this pick from the if the Panthers do end up making it, but it is definitely one of their top options. And at number 10, we have the Eagles taking Osiris Torrance, the Florida guard. Eagles, I mean, the most talented team in the NFL this year. They almost won a Super Bowl. They were just they were close, and I think guard is one of their more pressing needs. Even though they have an elite guy like Jason Kelsey on the interior of their line, they could definitely use some help for him. So that's a good pick for them. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, Jason Kelsey is also getting very, very old, so Cyrus Torrance maybe in a couple years could be a star player. And for number 9 for the Panthers, I don't like this pick either, but I think they're going to make it. Like, this isn't necessarily what we think is best for each team. This is what the pick we think they're going to make. Number 11, Titans, I have them taking Quentin Johnston, TCU wide receiver. I think this is easily the best pick they could possibly make. They need another receiver. I think him and Traylon Burks will match up very well on the outside. They also do need a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is not it, but next year definitely going to have better quarterbacks, so I think they might tank this year. But Quentin Johnston, that's a wonderful piece to have on that offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the guys available, this is 100% the best pick. But also you could definitely see the Titans trading up, to possibly get a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young, CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young. But you never know. Next up, we have number 12, Vikings. This is one of our mock trades. Second round of the Texans. We have them taking Kalijah Cansey, is pretty sure how you pronounce it. Pittsburgh defensive tackle. Definitely a talented guy here. Vikings could use some run help stop, and this guy can definitely get it done. Marco?
Yeah, especially with the division that they play in with lots of run-heavy teams, I think Vikings could definitely use Kalijah Cansey. Number 13, the Jets, Paris Johnson, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Pretty obvious pick here. They need offensive linemen. There isn't really a great QB on the board to take. So, yeah, I think if Anthony Richardson or Will Levis does fall, then they'll take them, but I don't think they will, so I have them taking an offensive lineman here. And at number 14, I have the Patriots. I would like us to take a receiver, more exciting pick, but the smart pick is taking Peter Skoronski, Northwestern offensive tackle. Trent Brown is one of the worst offensive tackles in the league. He needs to go. We're overpaying him. I think Peter Skoronski will be a very good fit in our offensive scheme, and he'll help protect Mac Jones.
Yep, and then at number 15, we have Jordan Addison, USC wide receiver, really fast guy here, very talented. It'll give the Packers some help out wide. I mean, they already have a very talented young wide receiver in Christian Watson, but this guy will just bolster that receiving core, which is much needed. And then at number 16, we have the Commanders taking Lucas Van Ness, the Iowa edge rusher. He definitely gave some teams some problems, even though Iowa wasn't the best team this year. Their defense was still very solid, so I really like this pick from if the Commanders do choose to make it. At number 17, we have the Steelers taking Christian Gonzalez, Oregon cornerback. I don't mind this pick just because, I don't mind it because taking corner later in the first round is definitely more valuable than taking one top 10 in my opinion, so this would be a solid pick for the Steelers. And then at number 18, we have the Lions taking Brian Brees, the Clemson defensive tackle. This is really a no-brainer for me. Lions really need interior D-line, and this would help fill that role. Marco?
Yeah, I think with their number 6 pick, if Jalen Carter somehow falls, then they'll take Jalen Carter there, then take a linebacker at this pick. But I don't think Jalen Carter is going to fall to 6, so I have them taking Brian Brees here. By the way, for number 15 for the Packers, I think Jordan Addison might make Aaron Rodgers stay. Aaron Rodgers always has wanted help, and taking a receiver in the first round might convince Aaron Rodgers to stay. Not sure if that's the best thing for the team, but maybe they want it back. Number 19, the Bucks. I'm taking Michael Mayer, Notre Dame tight end, best tight end on the board. I think they're going to absolutely tank the crap out of next year and try to get Caleb Williams. So get a tight end, let him develop for a year, then have Caleb Williams the next year. At number 20, the Seahawks, I have them taking Andre Carter, the Army linebacker. There was some off-season problems because Army, everyone has to serve in the Army for, I believe, like 2 years. But I believe they signed some contracts so he could play in the NFL before serving in the Army. So that's a cool story there. Cal, why don't you take the next one?
Number 21, we have the Chargers taking Brian Branch, the Alabama safety. Super talented guy. I mean, everyone that goes to Alabama is. And this is just another guy that's going to be making some noise in the NFL. Number 22, we have the Ravens taking Jackson Smith-Njigba. Earlier in the season, he was projected to go way higher, but due to him sitting out the entire season, his draft stock has fallen quite a bit. Hopefully, he can have a great combine to help maybe boost him up a couple spots. At number 23, we have the Texans taking Nolan Smith, the Georgia edge rusher. Another much-needed position for the Texans. I mean, really, no pick is a bad pick for the Texans. If you take the best available guy at a spot, it's probably helping the team out. At number 24, we have the Jags taking Joey Porter Jr., the Penn State cornerback. Super talented guy. He was able to lock down very talented Big Ten wide receivers all season, and I think he's going to maybe develop in the NFL and be a very good defensive piece for the Jags. Marco?
Oh, yeah, Joey Porter, that is definitely a steal. Not many teams really need a corner. So I think this is an absolute steal. Easily the second best corner in the draft, and he will make an impact week 1 for the Jags. Number 25, the Giants taking Zay Flowers, Boston College receiver. Lots of people on social media saying this guy's a generational talent. He's very small, but he plays the exact same way as Tyreek Hill does, and I see the potential there. He's one of the best yards after catch guys I've ever seen. He's so fast, good route runner, good hands, sort of the full package. He's just very undersized, so that's why a lot of teams will pass on him. But I think the Giants, this is a no-brainer. Number 26, Cowboys. I'm taking Will McDonald, Iowa State linebacker. Linebacker is a very big need for the Cowboys. Obviously, they have Micah Parsons, but he's sort of more of an edge rusher. But Will McDonald, lots of mock drafts have him going second, third round, but I think Cowboys don't really need any positions that bad. So I think they'll make the reach on him, and he's a sort of a week 1 ready type of guy. Number 27, I have the Bills taking Deontay Banks, Maryland cornerback. Lots of Big Ten corners, 3 of the first 4 corners out of the Big Ten. He'll go nicely with Tre'Davious White at the corner position, and he is very athletic. One of the fastest defensive players you'll see at the combine.
So next up, we have number 28, the Bengals taking Broderick Jones, the Georgia offensive tackle. Just nice pick here for the Bengals. It'll be good to bolster that O-line, give Joe Burrow some more time in the pocket. At number 29, we have the Saints taking Dalton Kincaid, the Utah tight end. This is a very talented guy. He gave Cameron Rising a bunch of help all season, and I think he's going to maybe be able to help out whoever the new Saints quarterback is going to be. I think they might sign Derek Carr. I think he's a good fit there, and maybe he'll be able to help him out. Marco?
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid. I do not think the Saints are going to try to win many games next year. I think they're another team going to try to tank for maybe Caleb Williams or another QB. At number 30, I have we have the Seahawks in the mock trade with the Eagles. I don't feel like the Eagles really need 2 picks in the first round. They're a very sound team. Trade back for maybe a 3rd and a 4th rounder. So I have the Seahawks taking Steve Avila, TCU guard. Just very good player. Probably start week 1. Seahawks need a guard, so it's a good pick. And at number 31, Chiefs, Super Bowl winner. Though it didn't really seem like they needed it in the Super Bowl, I think they needed a receiver, and I think Nathaniel Dell out of Houston, a very talented receiver, also a guy that's already ready for the NFL in my opinion. So I think that's the right pick for the Chiefs, as they still need some talent at receiver. And the reason why there's only 31 picks is because the Dolphins had to forfeit their pick. I don't really know why, but they did.
And then moving on to our college basketball predictions, we're going to start it off with number 8, Texas at number 9, Baylor. in my opinion, Baylor's the way more fun team to watch, and that's why I'm going to take them here. I think when they have guys like Keontae George playing well, they're super dangerous. And like we were talking about earlier, if they can have some role players step up, this is going to be a super dangerous team. So I got Baylor here. Margo?
Yeah, these are two teams with insane backcourts. Marcus Carr for Texas, Marcus Carr and Hunter for Texas, and then Keontae George and Adam Flagler for Baylor. I think it's going to come down to whichever one wins that matchup. Will Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr or Keontae George and Flagler win, and I think Flagler and George will win. I think this team's tired of losing close, well, actually not even that close games, but I think Baylor's tired of losing, and they'll protect their home court here against a top 10 team.
All right, next up we have number 17 Indiana at number 5 Purdue. Huge game here for Purdue. They're coming off a couple of pretty closely packed losses. In Indiana, they've been very good recently, despite even though they lost that game the other night. Definitely two very talented teams. Trace Jackson Davis for Indiana has been phenomenal all year. We'll see how he fares against Zach Edey. But I think Purdue's going to get it done here. I think Zach Edey's going to dominate Trace Jackson Davis simply because of the fact that Trace Jackson Davis is just more of a versatile big, but he doesn't have as much height as Edey does, and no one really does, to be fair, and I think he's going to get dominated a little bit. Marco?
I think this game comes down to the players around Edey and Trace Jackson Davis. I think they'll kind of even out. Probably each of them drop around 25 points. Neither of them are that good at defense. Jackson Davis probably a little better at defense, but Edey probably a little better at offense. But I do think Indiana has better surrounding players. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Miller Kopp. Actually, Miller Kopp's not that good, but Jalen Hood-Schifino is very good, and Purdue just doesn't really have any great players around Edey. So I think Jalen Hood-Schifino has a very big game, maybe drops 20, and Indiana sweeps Purdue in a big rivalry game.
Yep, moving on to number 15, St. Mary's at number 12, Gonzaga. I think St. Mary's is getting it done here. Gonzaga is a team I really just don't like that much. I really hate seeing them win. And St. Mary's is a team that I really enjoy when they're good, and they've been rolling quite a bit. So I don't know. I think the Gales might get it done here. They just play really well as a team. They're the first in their conference. They're ahead of Gonzaga. So I don't know. I think they're gonna get it done tonight. They play super well as a team. They only allow 58.9 points per game, which is very good, and they score 71.6, so definitely a well-balanced team here, and I think they're going to get it done against Gonzaga and prove why they could be maybe as high as a 3 or 4 seed. Marco?
Oh yeah, this is pretty much the one big game in this in the Western Coast Conference per year. St. Mary's won the first matchup. It's going to be definitely a very entertaining game. Two best teams in the conference, likely fighting for who wins the conference in the regular season. I think Gonzaga is going to get it done. I don't think St. Mary's really has a great stop for Drew Timme. They didn't really have one in the first game. They just played very well, shot very well, which they can very well do again. I just think Gonzaga is going to be a little bit more prepared this time, playing against a top 15 team at home as well. The crowd's going to be very into it in their biggest home game of the year. So give me Gonzaga in a very, very close game.
Yep, and then we have finally, to finish off the episode, we have the two Michigan games. Started off with Michigan at Rutgers. Both these games are must win. This Rutgers game is going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. Going to the Scarlet Knights Stadium is never easy. They find ways to beat highly ranked teams at home, and Michigan is not highly ranked. So it could be a rough game for Michigan, but as always, if we come to play, we can compete with absolutely anybody in the country. So it's really just going to come down to what Michigan team do we see. It seems like we're saying that every game, but some guys that have stepped up recently, I think Kobe Buffkin is really making strides. I think he's taking more shots, which we 100% need. And I honestly think Michigan has been in the games that Terrence Williams hasn't played. I feel like Michigan has played better. I mean, I'm a Terrence Williams hater. I don't think he's very good, but I just think that when guys like Kobe Buffkin are taking more shots, we're a better team because, I mean, he's just one of our biggest playmakers. Marco?
Yeah, playing at the Rack, also known as Scarlet Knights Stadium, is very tough to play in. Also, I think Hunter Dickinson is going to get absolutely locked up. Clifford Amorie, one of the best big defenders in college basketball. Also, Caleb McConnell, probably the best overall defender in college basketball there at the guard. So Kobe Buffkin might have lots of problems here on the offensive side. So will Hunter. This is not a good matchup for us, as their two best defenders are both on our two best offensive players. But I think running Terrace Reed and Hunter on the court at the same time might be a good idea. This team is not very big, and Amorie can't guard both of them, so that might be a good idea, especially since Reed played very well in the last game. I think McDaniel has to have a big game. He has to win the matchup between him and Paul Mulcahy. I actually think he will. I think him and Reed step up just like the MSU game, and Michigan wins a nail biter, which we very rarely do. But we finally get over the hump and win a close game here in the Rec.
Yeah, and then next up we have Michigan at Wisconsin. Wisconsin at Michigan. Wisconsin won the last matchup in a close one, but Michigan at home in this one looking to get a big win. I believe this would be a quad 1 win, as well as Rutgers. Rutgers is also a quad 1 win if we were able to get it. But this is a must win for Michigan. Every game is coming down the stretch, and I think this one is really gonna. This one is going to be won on the defensive end. This is an emotional matchup for both teams. There's some history, with what happened last year. Last game, it got a little chippy. So definitely some conflicting interests between these two teams. But the team that gets it done on the defensive end is always the team that wins these emotional games. And I think Michigan's not a great defensive team. I'm not going to lie to you. Juwan Howard, I don't think has coached them well enough in terms of help side defense and whatnot. But Michigan, I don't know. Michigan's a fun team, so always keep it interesting. But like you said, Terrace Reed has been playing super well. I would like to see him get more playing time in this game as well as the Rutgers game. And I think this is a very winnable game for Michigan. Marco?
Yeah, actually, the Rutgers game is quad 1, but Wisconsin's a quad 3 game. They're actually pretty bad this year. They were actually quad 4 before they.
Well, it's also because it's at home, so it's the quadrants.
Yeah,
it's like harder.
But they're
to get.
like not in the top 70 in net rankings. But Wisconsin, a team also in need of a win. Both of us, I think whoever wins this game could possibly make the tournament, especially if Michigan wins that Rutgers game. What happened last game was Wisconsin, a team that pretty much cannot rebound to save their lives, out-rebounded us by about 15 rebounds. If that happens again, they're going to win again. But if that does not happen and we actually learn how to rebound, then we'll win. I think Jawan's going to really focus on rebounding and practice. And I think we'll get it done. Wisconsin's not a good team. I'm actually surprised that we lost them the first time. I think we'll get some revenge here and hopefully go 2-0 this week.
Yeah, and Wisconsin's also, even though they're not that good, they're a tough team to play just because they don't really have one guy that scores like 20 a game. I mean, their leading scorer is Chucky Hepburn, and he averages 12.5 per game. So they're not really. I mean, it's really just any guy on any given night can step up for them, which is why they're also not a great team because they don't have that one guy. But I don't know. It's definitely hard to play teams that you can't really just lock down one guy and lock down their whole team. So anything else, Marco?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Second Take Podcast. We will see you next week. Peace.